Hi, this is Amy from Spreadsheet Solving. In our short video today, we are going to talk about the Golden Globes, the Oscars, and conditional probabilities. The overall question we want to be able to solve at the end of this video is, using conditional probabilities, what is the total probability that a movie, such as The American Hustle, wins the Oscars? Okay, so a quick refresher. What is probability? Probability is simply chance. It's simply likelihood. But what about conditional probability? And here in our tutorial post, we introduce the concept of conditional probability, which is the probability or the likelihood of an event occurring given another event also occurs. For example, what is the probability that the movie American Hustle wins at the Oscars given that it wins the Golden Globes? Okay, so how do we denote conditional probability? Well, we use a vertical slash. And we can also use a probability tree, which we have shown here in our Google spreadsheet. In this image, we have a probability tree, and I'm going to walk you through it. And this tree will allow us to visualize the conditional probability and enable us to eventually solve the total probability of the movie American Hustle winning the Oscars. Okay, we've got our first node here. What is the probability that American Hustle wins the Golden Globes? Well, we're given here that it's a 50-50 chance of either winning or losing. And so that's denoted here. The probability of winning the Golden Globes, PWG, is equal to 0.5 or 50%. You can either win or you can lose. That's all the options you have. So the total probability among the two is 100%. You're either going to win or you're going to lose. So that's denoted here in this first node. Now let's talk about the conditional probability given. Let's just focus here on the condition that you won the Golden Globes. Given that you win the Golden Globes, what is the probability that you also win the Oscars? That's denoted right here. Again, vertical slash means given. This denotes conditionality. Probability of winning the Oscars given that you win the Golden Globes is 75%. Okay, you interpret this the same way. Given that you win the Golden Globes, you might lose the Oscars, and in that case, the likelihood is 25%. Now let's explore the bottom two nodes. Well, here we go. The probability of winning the Oscars given that you lose the Golden Globes is 15%. And the probability that you lose the Oscars given that you lose the Golden Globes is 85%. So at this point, we see our tree, and we want to now understand how to calculate the over probability of winning the Oscars. Now, before we delve into that, what is the probability of winning the Golden Globes and winning the Oscars? Well, let's take a look here at our first two nodes. It's the probability of winning the Golden Globes times the conditional probability of winning the Oscars given winning the Golden Globes is equal to the probability of winning the Oscars and winning the Golden Globes. In short, if you take 0.50 times 0.75, you are going to get the probability of winning the Oscars and winning the Golden Globes. Okay, similarly, if you take the product of losing the Golden Globes times the product of winning the Oscars given that you lose the Golden Globes, that gives you the probability of winning the Oscars and losing the Golden Globes. 0.50 times 0.15 gives you the probability of winning the Oscars and losing the Golden Globes. So at this point, if you want to calculate the total probability of winning the Oscars, it's simply the sum of those two figures. So down here, we've got the total probability of winning the Oscars. Here, just as we stated, the probability of winning the Golden Globes times the probability of winning the Oscars given that you win the Golden Globes, this here is equal to the probability of winning the Oscars and winning the Golden Globes. Similarly, let's take a look at this part of the equation. The probability of losing the Golden Globes times the probability of winning the Oscars given that you lose the Golden Globes is equal, this segment here is equal to the probability of winning the Oscars and losing the Golden Globes. So using the conditional probabilities, the overall probability of winning the Oscars is the sum of these two. And so you have a 45% chance of American Hustle winning the Oscars. Now, if we turn into this data worksheet of our workbook, the Google Spreadsheet workbook, we have all the figures here outlined. And all these probabilities match what's shown on our probability tree. And so here, if we look down here and figure out calculating the total probability of winning the Oscars, And I'll show you the formula here. It's exactly as stated in our equation. We took the probability of winning the Golden Globes times the conditional probability of winning the Oscars given that you win the Golden Globes plus the probability of losing the Golden Globes times the probability that you win the Oscars given that you lose the Golden Globes. And here we find, again, the answer is 45%. Okay, so here, what did we learn? We learned about probabilities, conditional probabilities, and how to calculate the overall probabilities given the conditional probabilities. Again, it's a great resource to use. A probability tree helps you to visualize the data. And then you can turn to your Google spreadsheet and enable you to calculate what indeed is the total probability of, say, winning the Oscars. Now, if you want to calculate the probability of losing the Oscars, it's very simply 1 minus the probability of winning the Oscars, which we have down here at 55%. Okay, in our next videos, we're going to talk about the Bayes rule, Bayes theorem, and how that connects with conditional probabilities. We will see you next time.